The human research ship, Perseverance, floated in the cold darkness of space, like a tiny metal dot against the stars. Inside the main conference room, Hannah Kim stood perfectly still as she watched the holographic display flickered to life. The blue light cast strange shadows across her face as alien figures began to appear before her. Ambassador Veltar materialized first. His reptilian features looked even more intimidating through the hologram. His scales caught the light as he turned his head to study the humans gathered around the table. Behind him, other members of the Galactic Hegemony Council took their positions. Each one represented a different species from across the galaxy. Commander Tajan Park sat at the head of the conference table. His military uniform was perfectly pressed, but Hannah could see the tension in his shoulders. This meeting would decide humanity's future among the stars. For 3 years, humans had been asking to join the galactic community. For 3 years, they had been rejected. Humans of Earth, Veltar began, his voice carrying through the translator with mechanical precision. Your species has requested membership in our coalition for the 3rd time. The council has reviewed your application once again. Hannah felt her heart skip a beat. She had spent months preparing for this moment. As Earth's leading expert on extreme environments and alien biology, she knew how important this decision was. Humanity had reached for the stars, only to find they were not welcome. Your species shows promise in some areas, Veltar continued. Your technology advances quickly. Your population adapts to new situations. However, the Council has serious concerns about your biological limitations. The hologram shifted to show a chart displaying various alien species. Each one had different strengths listed beside colorful graphics. The Kethmori could survive in temperatures hot enough to melt metal. The aquatic Cephirians could live in crushing ocean depths that would flatten human bones. The silicon-based architects could rebuild their bodies from raw minerals. Galactic citizenship requires more than curiosity and ambition. High Counselor Dex spoke from behind Veltar. Her voice sounded like a grinding stone. Member species must prove they can survive in environments that would kill lesser beings. They must show biological resilience that goes beyond their home-world conditions. Hannah exchanged glances with Soyoung Lee, the team's communications expert. Soyoung had been working day and night to make this conversation possible across the vast distances of space. Her equipment hummed quietly in the background, translating thoughts and words between species that had evolved on completely different worlds. The Council has decided to offer humanity one final test, Veltar announced. Scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile, but it looked more like a threat. If your species can pass this challenge, we will grant you full membership. If you fail, your application will be permanently rejected. Commander Park leaned forward. What kind of test? The hologram changed again. This time, it showed a planet rotating slowly in space. The world looked angry. Storm clouds swirled across its surface in violent spirals. The land masses glowed red with heat, while ice caps reflected harsh sunlight from twin stars. This is Kepler 4 Vortici, Veltar explained. It has been classified as Category 5 uninhabitable. This is the highest danger rating in our system. The surface experiences acid rain that can dissolve most known metals. Temperature swings range from -80 degrees to over 200 degrees. The atmospheric pressure changes without warning. Radiation from the twin suns would kill most species within hours. Hannah studied the planet data streaming across her personal display. The numbers were terrifying. Wind speeds reached 300 kilometers per hour during storm seasons. The atmosphere contained chemicals that would burn through standard protective equipment. Even the soil was poisonous. No species in our records has survived more than 6 hours on Kepler 4 Vortici. High Counselor Dex added. Even our most resilient members refuse to attempt landing there. The Kethmori, who can swim in lava, consider it too dangerous. The room fell silent, except for the soft humming of the ship's life support systems. Hannah could feel the weight of the challenge settling over the human crew like a heavy blanket. This was not a test designed for success. This was elimination, disguised as opportunity. "You want us to send someone to die on that planet," Commander Park said flatly. "We want you to prove that humans deserve to stand beside species that have conquered the galaxy," Veltar replied. "If your kind is truly ready for citizenship, then surviving on a hostile world should be possible. After all, you claimed that human adaptability is your greatest strength." Hannah felt something stirring inside her chest. It was not fear, though. She knew she should be afraid. It was not anger, though the unfairness of the test was obvious. It was determination. She had spent her entire career studying how life survived in impossible places. She had pushed her own body to its limits in Earth's most extreme environments. The idea of backing down now felt worse than the idea of dying on an alien world. "Do it," she said quietly. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. Commander Park shook his head immediately. "Hannah, no. This is suicide, dressed up as a challenge." "Maybe," she agreed. "But if we say no, then humanity stays trapped in our own solar system forever. If I fail, at least we tried. If I succeed, then every human gets to reach for the stars." So-young grabbed her arm. "The survival rate is 0%. No one has ever lived through 6 hours on that planet." "Then I guess I'll have to be the first," Hannah said. She looked directly at the alien ambassador. "How long do I need to survive to pass your test?" Valtar's expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. 72 hours, 3 of your Earth days." The number hit like a physical blow. 6 hours was impossible. 72 hours was insane. "I accept," Hannah said before anyone could stop her. The conference room erupted in protests from her crew mates, but Hannah kept her eyes on the alien council members. She saw something in their faces that confirmed her suspicions. They were not expecting her to succeed. They were expecting her to die quickly so they could point to her failure as proof that humans were too weak for galactic society. "Very well," Veltar said after the room quieted down. "You have 48 hours to prepare. We will monitor your vital signs throughout the test. Any attempt to receive outside assistance will result in immediate disqualification." The holograms faded away, leaving the humans alone in their conference room. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The silence stretched until So-young finally whispered, "What have you done?" Hannah looked out through the viewing port at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was a planet that no living being had ever survived. In 2 days, she would be standing on its surface with nothing but her training and her determination to keep her alive. "I've given humanity a chance," she said. "Let's make sure I don't waste it." The landing pod shook violently as it tore through Kepler-4 for 2C's angry atmosphere. Hannah gripped her safety harness as alarms screamed around her. Red warning lights flashed across every surface of the small capsule. Outside the tiny window, she could see fire streaming past as the pod's heat shield fought against the planet's violent entry. The atmospheric readings on her display showed numbers that should have been impossible. The air outside contained sulfuric acid strong enough to eat through steel. Temperature sensors flickered between freezing cold and burning hot every few seconds. The twin suns of this system pumped deadly radiation through clouds that sparked with constant lightning. "Perseverance to landing pod 7. So-young's voice crackled through the communication system. "Your descent angle is off by 3 degrees. Adjusting course now." Hannah felt the pod shift as the guidance thrusters fired. She tried to stay calm, but her heart was racing. In less than 10 minutes, she would be standing on the surface of the most dangerous planet known to galactic science. Every alien species in the hegemony had declared this world as possible to survive. The pod's computer began counting down the final approach. Landing in 60 seconds. Prepare for impact. Through the window, Hannah caught her first real glimpse of Kepler 446's surface. What she saw made no sense at all. The galactic surveys had described a dead wasteland of rock and poison. Instead, she was looking at something that seemed almost alive. Massive crystal formations rose from the ground, like frozen trees. They glowed with internal light that pulsed in steady rhythms. Between them, pools of liquid metal reflected the harsh sunlight in rainbow patterns. Strange plants with geometric leaves swayed in the toxic wind as if they were dancing. This can't be right, Hannah whispered to herself. The survey said this place was lifeless. The landing was harder than anything she had trained for. The pod slammed into a cluster of crystal spires that shattered like glass. Sharp fragments peppered the capsule's hull as it bounced and rolled across the alien ground. Kana's safety harness cut into her shoulders as she was thrown from side to side. When everything finally stopped moving, she hung upside down in her straps. Emergency lights cast an eerie glow through the cracked windows. The pod's life support systems were making unhappy noises. Several warning lights indicated hull breaches in the equipment compartment. Hannah released her harness and dropped to what was now the ceiling. She moved carefully to avoid the broken glass and twisted metal scattered everywhere. Her environmental suit had saved her life during the crash, but she could see 3 tears in the outer layer where crystal shards had cut through. The external sensors were still working. Barely. They showed atmospheric pressure that changed every few minutes. The air outside was a mixture of gases that would kill most known life forms instantly. The ground temperature was hot enough to cook food, while the air 20 meters above was cold enough to freeze water solid. "This is landing pod 7. Hannah spoke into her communicator. "I'm down safely. Beginning surface operations now. Stoy Young's response was full of static. "Copy that, Hannah. Your vital signs look good. We're reading some unusual atmospheric interference, but your suit should protect you for at least 12 hours. Hannah checked her equipment one more time. Oxygen, 414 hours. Water for 3 days. Food rations for 5 days. Emergency medical supplies. Basic toolkit. Everything she needed to survive until her pickup, assuming she lived that long. She opened the pod's hatch and stepped onto the surface of Kepler-44 to see Dot. The first thing that hit her was the smell. Even through her suit's filters, she could detect something like burning metal mixed with strange flowers. The air shimmered with heat waves that made everything look like it was underwater. Above her, the twin suns blazed down through clouds that sparked with electrical discharges. The ground beneath her feet was not the bare rock described in the galactic surveys. Instead, she walked on what looked like a carpet of tiny crystal growths. They crunched under her boots, but immediately began regrowing behind her. Within seconds, her footprints had disappeared completely. She began walking toward the nearest cluster of crystal trees. Up close, they were even more amazing than they had looked from space. Each one was perfectly symmetrical, with branches that split and rejoined in mathematical patterns. The internal light pulsed faster when she approached, as if the trees were somehow aware of her presence. That was when the first real challenge hit her. A wall of acid rain swept across the landscape like a moving curtain. Hannah had 3 seconds to find shelter before the storm reached her position. She dove behind a large crystal formation just as the rain began to fall. The acid hissed and steamed when it hit the ground. Where it touched the crystal shelter, the surface began to glow brighter. Instead of being dissolved, the crystals seemed to be feeding on the acid. The toxic rain was actually providing energy to the local ecosystem while she waited for the storm to pass. Hannah studied the liquid metal pools she had seen from above. They were not random puddles, but part of an organized system. Channels connected them in complex networks that carried the metallic fluid from pool to pool. Strange creatures moved through the liquid. Their bodies adapted to live in what should have been impossible conditions. The acid storm lasted for 20 minutes. When it finally moved on, Hannah emerged from her shelter to find the landscape had changed. New crystal growths had sprouted where the rain had fallen. The metal pools were glowing brighter. Even the air seemed cleaner somehow. Her suit's sensors were showing readings that made no sense. The atmospheric composition was shifting constantly, but her oxygen levels remained stable. The temperature around her body stayed comfortable while the environmental readings swung between extremes. It was as if the planet was somehow adjusting itself to keep her alive. "Perseverance, are you getting this data?" she asked through her communicator. "We're seeing it, but we don't understand it." Commander Park's voice answered through heavy static. "Your suit should be failing by now, but everything looks normal. Better than normal, actually." Hannah moved deeper into the crystal forest. Each step revealed new wonders and new questions. Plants that photosynthesized radiation instead of sunlight. Insects with wings made of living metal. Pools of water that somehow remained liquid despite temperatures that should have turned them into steam. After 2 hours of exploration, her suit's main power cell began to fail. The environmental controls flickered on and off. Her oxygen recycling system started making alarming noises. According to every calculation, she should be dead within the hour. That was when she made the decision that would change everything. Standing beside a pool of impossibly clear water, with crystal trees humming around her and strange creatures watching from the shadows, Hannah reached up and removed her helmet. The first breath of alien air burned her lungs like fire. The second breath was easier. By the third breath, she was still alive and beginning to understand that everything the galactic hegemony believed about this planet was completely wrong. "Hannah, what are you doing?" So-Young's panicked voice came through her suit's speakers. "Your helmet breach alarm just activated." Hannah looked up at the twin suns blazing overhead and smiled. "I'm learning to breathe," she said. "And I think this planet wants to teach me how to survive." Hannah expected to die within minutes of breathing Kepler for 2C's atmosphere. Instead, she found herself still standing beside the crystal pool an hour later, very much alive. Her lungs had stopped burning after the first few breaths. Her vision had cleared and become sharper than ever before. Most surprising of all, she felt stronger than she had in years. The alien air tasted like electricity and flowers. Each breath seemed to energize her body in ways she could not explain. Her heart rate had actually slowed down instead of speeding up from panic. When she checked her suit's medical sensors, the readings showed improvements in every system. Her blood oxygen was higher than normal. Brain activity was more active than usual. Even her healing rate seemed faster. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself, then spoke into her communicator. "Perseverance, my vital signs should be going crazy right now, but everything looks better than baseline." So-Young's voice crackled back through the static. "We're seeing the same readings here. Commander Park wants to know if your suit's medical system is malfunctioning." "I don't think so," Hannah replied, watching a group of metallic butterflies dance around her head. They seemed curious rather than afraid. "I think this planet is doing something to help me survive." She began exploring the crystal forest more carefully, paying attention to how the native life forms interacted with their environment. The crystal trees were not just pretty decorations. They were complex organisms that worked together as a living system. When acid rain fell, they absorbed it and converted it into energy. When electrical storms struck, they conducted the lightning safely into the ground while storing some of the power for later use. The metallic pools were even more amazing. Hannah knelt beside one and dipped her finger into the liquid. Instead of burning her skin, the metal felt warm and soothing. Small creatures swam up to investigate her hand. They looked like fish made of silver, but their movements were too coordinated to be random. They seemed to be studying her as much as she was studying them. As the day progressed, Hannah learned to read the planet's rhythms. The temperature changes were not random chaos, but part of a careful cycle. When the air grew too hot, cool breezes would flow down from the crystal formations, and frost began to form. Warm currents would rise from the metallic pools. The planet was actively managing its own climate. She found shelter in a cave formed by interlocking crystal branches. The walls glowed with soft light that provided both warmth and protection from radiation. Strange fruits hung from the ceiling, like glowing lanterns. When she touched one, it fell into her hand and split open to reveal seeds surrounded by sweet pulp. Hannah hesitated before tasting it. Every rule of survival said never to eat unknown alien food. But her body was already changing in ways that defied every rule she knew. The fruit tasted like honey mixed with mint. Her stomach accepted it easily, and within minutes, she felt more energized than any earth food had ever made her feel. My dietary requirements seemed to be changing, she reported to the ship. I'm processing local nutrients without any digestive problems. Commander Park's voice came through the static. Hannah, you need to be careful. We don't know what that stuff might do to your system long term. But Hannah was beginning to understand that her system was adapting faster than anyone thought possible. Her skin was becoming more resistant to temperature changes. Her eyes were adjusting to see new parts of the light spectrum. She could hear sounds that had been beyond human range when she first arrived. On her second day, she encountered her first major predator. The creature looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, with scales that shifted color to match its surroundings. It was twice her size and clearly designed for killing. When it spotted her, it charged with teeth and claws that could tear through metal. Instead of running or fighting, Hannah did something that surprised both herself and the creature. She stood perfectly still and made a sound she had never made before. It was somewhere between a whistle and a hum, pitched at frequencies that seemed to resonate with the crystal formations around them. The predator stopped mid-charge and tilted its head. The crystals began to glow brighter, creating a light shell that surrounded both human and alien. After a long moment, the creature made a similar sound back to her, then turned and walked away peacefully. How did you know to do that? Swal Young asked when Hannah described the encounter. I didn't know, Hannah admitted. It just felt right. It's like the planet was teaching me how to communicate. Her third day brought even stranger discoveries. She found areas where the ground was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to serve as maps or instructions. When she walked along the lines, she was led to resources she needed. Water sources that stayed pure despite the toxic atmosphere. Mineral deposits that provided nutrients her changing body craved. Safe sleeping areas that protected her from the worst weather. The planet was not trying to kill visitors. It was trying to teach them how to become part of its ecosystem. The problem was that most species were too rigid in their biology to learn the lessons. They came with fixed survival strategies and died when those strategies failed to work. Humans were different. Human bodies were designed to adapt to new environments. Human minds were built to learn new survival techniques. What the galactic hegemony saw as primitive flexibility was actually humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage. By the end of her third day, Hannah had stopped thinking of herself as a visitor to this world. She was becoming part of it. Her skin had developed a slight shimmer that helped reflect harmful radiation. Her breathing had become more efficient, requiring less oxygen than before. Her muscle strength had increased to help her move through the variable gravity fields. Most importantly, she was learning to sense the planet's moods and needs. She could feel electrical storms building hours before they arrived. She knew when the metallic pools would be safe to drink from, and when they would be too energized. The crystal formations shared information with her through vibrations that her bones could detect. Perseverance, she called on the morning of her 4th day. I'm ready for pickup, but I don't think I'm the same person you dropped off here. Do you mean? Commander Park asked. Hannah looked at her reflection in a crystal surface. Her eyes had developed flecks of color that matched the local light patterns. Her hair had grown faster and stronger. Her entire body moved with a grace and confidence that felt completely natural, but utterly inhuman. I mean, I've learned things that could change everything we know about human potential, she said. This planet isn't a death trap. It's a school. And I think I'm finally ready to graduate. On her 5th day on Kepler 4 to see, Hannah discovered she was not alone. She was following a path of glowing crystals deeper into the planet's core regions when the ground beneath. Her feet began to pulse with a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. The metallic pools around her started to glow brighter, and the air itself seemed to hum with hidden energy. That was when she heard the voice. It did not come through her ears, but directly into her mind. The words formed in her thoughts like gentle whispers made of light and electricity. Welcome, adaptive one. We have been waiting for your kind for a very long time. Hannah stopped walking and looked around. She could see no source for the voice, but the entire landscape seemed to be watching her. The crystal trees leaned closer. The metallic creatures gathered at the edges of their pools. Even the strange geometric plants turned their leaves toward her. Who are you? She asked out loud. We are the memory, the voice replied. We are the collective consciousness of this world. Every living thing here contributes to our shared thoughts. Every experience becomes part of our knowledge. The ground beneath Hannah began to change. Smooth pathways of crystal formed under her feet, leading her toward a massive structure she had not noticed before. It rose from the landscape like a mountain made of glass and metal, with passages that spiraled up toward the clouds. You are the first visitor to understand our true nature, the memory continued as Hannah walked toward the structure. Others come here expecting to fight for survival. They bring rigid bodies and closed minds. Die because they cannot learn to become part of our world. But humans are different, Hannah said, understanding beginning to dawn in her mind. Yes, your species has the gift of adaptation. You change instead of breaking. You learn instead of dying. This is why we chose your world for contact. Hannah stopped walking. You chose Earth. You've been watching us for thousands of your years. We have waited for a species capable of true partnership. The others in your galaxy are strong in their own ways, but they are limited. The stone people can survive heat, but cannot change. The water people can live in depths, but cannot adapt to new environments. Only humans have the flexibility to become something more. The crystal structure opened before her like a flower blooming. Inside, Hannah saw chambers filled with impossible technology, machines that seemed to be grown rather than built, pools of liquid light that contained swirling galaxies of information, walls covered in symbols that changed meaning as she watched them. What is this place? She asked. This is a learning center built by those who came before us. They called themselves the Shapers. Millions of years ago, they traveled the galaxy looking for worlds where life could evolve beyond its normal limits. This planet is one of their greatest experiments. Hannah entered the main chamber and gasped. The walls showed moving pictures of alien civilizations she had never imagined. Species that could reshape their bodies at will. Beings that lived as pure energy. Creatures that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The Shapers wanted to discover the ultimate potential of biological life, the memory explained. They created worlds like this one to test the limits of adaptation and evolution. Most species that found these worlds died quickly. A few learned to survive, but could not advance further. You are the first to show true potential for transformation. The information was overwhelming. Hannah sat down on a chair that formed itself from the crystal floor to support her. The galactic hegemony knows about this, don't they? They have known for centuries. They found records of the Shapers in ancient ruins across the galaxy. But instead of celebrating this knowledge, they decided to use it as a weapon. New images appeared on the walls around her. Hannah saw recordings of other species being sent to hostile worlds, similar to Kepler-4 4-C, ship after ship carrying representatives from civilizations that wanted to join the galactic community. All of them died within hours of landing. They use these worlds to eliminate species they consider threatening, the memory said. Any race that shows too much potential, any civilization that might challenge their authority, gets sent to a Category 5 world to die. They call it a membership test, but it is really an execution. Hannah felt sick to her stomach. How many species have they killed this way? 47 civilizations in the past 1,000 years. Some were peaceful explorers like yourselves. Others were warriors who might have fought against hegemony control. All were removed from consideration by being sent to die on worlds like this one. The wall showed images of the Galactic Council meeting in secret sessions. Hannah recognized Ambassador Veltar and High Counselor Dex among the speakers. She watched them review reports of failed survival attempts and mark entire species as eliminated threats. But you survived. The memory continued. Not only survived, but learned and grew. This terrifies them more than any weapon could. Why? Because you proved that their system is built on lies. They claim to lead the galaxy because they are the strongest and most advanced. But if humans can adapt to become stronger than any of them, their authority becomes meaningless. Hannah stood up and walked to a pool of liquid light. When she touched its surface, knowledge flowed into her mind. She saw genetic templates that could allow humans to survive in any environment. Biological enhancement techniques that could make her species immune to disease, aging, and death itself. Technologies that could reshape entire worlds to support human life. The Shapers left all of this for whoever proved worthy to claim it, the memory said. We have been guardians of their legacy, waiting for a species capable of using it wisely. What happens now? Hannah asked. Before the memory could answer, her communicator crackled to life. Saw Young's voice was filled with panic. Hannah, we've got a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a hegemony fleet approaching the system. Typical ships, including a council command vessel. They're coming to stop the test, Hannah realized. More than that, the memory said grimly. They're coming to destroy any evidence that you succeeded. They cannot allow proof of human potential to reach the galaxy. Hannah looked around at the incredible technology surrounding her. In her mind, she could feel the genetic templates the Shapers had left behind. It's knowledge that could transform humanity into something beyond imagination. Power that could reshape the balance of galactic civilization. How long until they arrive? She asked. 6 hours, So Young replied. Hannah turned to face the memory's central interface. Can you teach me what I need to know in 6 hours? We can do more than that, the memory replied. We can give you the tools to ensure that humanity's transformation cannot be stopped. But the process will change you in ways that cannot be undone. You will become something between human and Shaper. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Outside, the twin suns were setting behind storm clouds that flickered with electrical fire. Soon, ships full of alien soldiers would arrive to silence the truth about human potential forever. Hannah had 6 hours to become something more than human, or watch her species remain trapped in their solar system for eternity. Do it, she said. Make me into whatever humanity needs me to become. The transformation began the moment Hannah entered the pool of liquid light. The substance felt warm against her skin as it flowed over her body like living water. Every cell in her body started changing at once. Her bones became stronger and lighter. Her muscles grew denser and more efficient. Her nervous system rewired itself to process information at superhuman speeds. The memory guided her through the process with gentle thoughts that felt like whispers of ancient wisdom. Do not resist the changes. Let your body become what it needs to be. Adeus designed this enhancement to work with human adaptability, not against it. Came, washed through her in waves, but it was followed by surges of strength and clarity that made the discomfort worthwhile. She could feel her DNA rewriting itself according to patterns that had been perfected over millions of years. Her immune system became capable of fighting diseases that had not even been discovered yet. Her healing rate increased until small wounds closed within seconds. Most importantly, her mind expanded. She could suddenly understand languages she had never heard. Mathematical concepts that at once seemed impossible now felt as simple as basic addition. She could sense electromagnetic fields, gravitational changes, and energy patterns that were invisible to normal humans. The process is complete, the memory announced after what felt like hours but had only been minutes. You are now something between human and shaper. Your species will call you the first of the enhanced. Hannah stepped out of the pool and examined her reflection in the crystal walls. She still looked human, but there were subtle differences. Her eyes held flecks of silver that sparkled with internal light. Her skin had a slight luminescence that would help her survive in any environment. Her movements were more graceful and precise than any normal person could achieve. Her communicator buzzed with urgent messages from the Perseverance. Hannah, the hegemony fleet has arrived early. They are demanding permission to board our ship. Commander Park is stalling them, but we're running out of time. I'm ready, Hannah replied. Send down the pickup shuttle and tell the commander to let the hegemony representatives come aboard. I want them to see what they've created. The memory provided her with one final gift. Knowledge crystals that contained complete records of the hegemony's conspiracy and the Shaper's technology. It's evidence that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. She tucked them into her equipment pack and prepared to return to space. The shuttle ride back to the Perseverance felt different than her original journey to the planet. Every sensation was sharper and more detailed. She could feel the ship's engines working, sense the crew's emotions through subtle energy fields, and detect the larger hegemony vessels waiting in the darkness beyond. When the shuttle docked, Hannah found the main hangar filled with alien soldiers. Ambassador Velter stood at their center, his scaled features showing poorly hidden anger. High Counselor Dex waited beside him with what looked like satisfaction on her stone-like face. The test is over, Veltar announced as Hannah stepped out of the shuttle. This human has clearly received artificial assistance to survive on Keplera 42C. Her survival is therefore invalid, and humanity's application for galactic membership is permanently rejected. Commander Park started to protest, but Hannah raised her hand to stop him. She walked calmly across the hangar until she stood directly in front of the alien ambassador. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the metal walls vibrate slightly. I received no artificial assistance, she said. I survived through human adaptability and the planet's natural ecosystem. Would you like me to demonstrate what I learned? Before Veltar could answer, Hannah did something impossible. She reached out and touched the hull of the hangar with her bare hand. Metal that should have been cold and lifeless began to glow with soft light. Patterns spread across the surface like living circuits, showing the ship's internal structure and energy flows. This is impossible, High Counselor Dex whispered. No biological being can interface with technology like that. Human beings can, Hannah replied. When we're allowed to reach our full potential. She pulled out the knowledge crystals the memory had given her and activated them with a touch. Holographic displays filled the hangar with evidence of the hegemony's crimes. Images of 47 species sent to die on Category 5 worlds. Records of secret council meetings where extermination was disguised as testing, proof that the galactic government was built on lies and murder. The alien soldiers stepped back in shock as they saw the truth about their own civilization. Many of them belonged to species that had been told their friends and neighbors had failed legitimate membership tests. Now, they learned that those beings had been executed to maintain hegemony power. This evidence is fabricated, Veltar snarled, but his voice lacked conviction. It can be verified by any independent investigation, Hannah said calmly. The memory of Kepler-4 Photosi has preserved records going back thousands of years. Every secret, meeting every conspiracy, every innocent species that died for your political convenience. High Counselor Dex tried to order the soldiers to arrest Hannah, but they refused to move. Some were staring at the evidence with horror. Others were backing away from their leaders with disgust. The foundation of their authority was crumbling. Before their eyes, Young activated the ship's communication systems and began broadcasting the evidence across the galaxy. Every civilized world would know the truth within hours. The hegemony's control was ending in real time. You have doomed yourselves, Veltar warned. Even if this evidence is true, you cannot survive without our protection. The galaxy is dangerous for young species. Hannah smiled, and for the first time, she let her enhanced nature show clearly. Her eyes blazed with silver light. Her skin glowed with energy patterns that matched the ship's systems. Mint, which he moved, it was with inhuman grace and speed. We don't need your protection anymore, she said. In fact, I think the galaxy needs protection from you. She touched the hangar wall again, and this time the entire ship responded. Systems came online that had never existed before. Perseverance began transforming itself using Shaper technology hidden in its basic design. Weapons that could disable ships without destroying them. Shields that could protect entire planets. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of years. This is what humanity becomes when we're allowed to grow, Hannah announced to the galaxy through the open communication channels. We don't just join your civilization. We help it become something better. The hegemony fleet tried to retreat, but their ships found themselves unable to move. Hannah had used her new abilities to temporarily disable their engines. They would be free to leave once independent investigators arrived to document their crimes. Ambassador. Veltar looked at her with something that might have been fear or respect. What are you? I'm a human who walked onto your death world and came back alive, Hannah replied. I'm proof that you were wrong about my species. Okay. And I'm the first of many who will help build a galaxy where strength comes from growth, not oppression. She turned to address the cameras that were broadcasting across known space. To every species watching this, I want you to know that the age of the hegemony is over. A new alliance is beginning. One based on cooperation instead of domination, okay? On helping each other become stronger instead of keeping each other weak. High Counselor Dex tried one last desperate threat. You cannot rule the galaxy. You're just one enhanced human. Hannah's smile grew wider. I'm not here to rule anything. I'm here to teach. Humanity is very good at learning from teachers. She held up a small crystal that glowed with internal light. Inside it were the complete genetic templates for human enhancement, instructions that could transform her entire species into beings capable of surviving anywhere and adapting to anything. They said humans couldn't survive that planet, she announced to the galaxy. They were right. What walked out alive was something far more dangerous to their established order. Humanity evolved. As independent investigators arrived from across the galaxy and the hegemony's power structure collapsed, Hannah began planning humanity's true entry into galactic civilization. Not as supplicants begging for acceptance, but as teachers ready to help every species reach their full potential. The age of human expansion among the stars had finally begun.